And you had briefly mentioned the situation with Dakota. What can you tell me about that situation? Because there's a lot
Well,
that.
I'm free and clear now, right? So I have no problem saying anything about it. Is that what is it? There's a couple of guys that are doing MMA podcasts called The Spice of Life. The Spice of Life, sorry, Luke Spicer and Tanner Wilshaw. They're going to be doing an interview with Dekada on Tuesday. The owners are there. They're going to talk about me and what they've been doing. Because Mel, she just talked to them on the podcast here on Tuesday, Wednesday of last week. And she was saying how, this whole event with, the Roy Jones announcement, before you have a venue, before you have a contract signed, they're announcing fights. And what does it do? It makes me look bad for accepting something for this, saying, sure, I'm all for it, when they don't even have anything, ready to go. So that started last year with that all falling through. And, for Mal part and KO, well, it makes her look bad because, they hear that, the fights are going to be maybe in Edmonton potentially too. Well, she's been the main show in Edmonton, so she starts getting flack over why isn't Roy Jones having Edmonton? Well, I wasn't, doing that fight. That was these upstarts out of Calgary that were announcing this, right? So it brings bad press on her and everyone around. And that was one of the things too, is that, I was fundraising for that fight to make that happen. It was going to happen for me. So it was going to be in Edmonton or Saskatoon or maybe, somewhere else. But basically in my own backyard here. I didn't have sponsorship, but I was getting promises from, say, Dekada, and I was for sponsorship, and I was helping them get sponsorship. I had the Molson contract for them that they got for sponsorship out of Cold Lake, actually, one of the what do you call representatives from Molson had a contact with the liquor store in Cold Lake, and that's how they got that. But then when the fight fell through, they lost that opportunity with Molson. One show, Molson was on their floorboards of their on the canvas of their ring, and then it wasn't there anymore, right? So they had a good meal ticket with them. So as far as, like I said, the fight that got canceled last year, with everything falling through, with negotiations with the contract that wasn't even negotiated, I had raised quite a bit of money to help, get trained for that fight, go to Montreal, because coach's brother was at the same gym that the Grant Brothers gym that Ryan Ford is training at right now, right?
Yeah.
So he's got he's got his brother that works there at that gym. So we were looking at maybe going down there and doing a training camp, get prepped up for Roy Jones, and that was a doable fight. The guy's, getting close to 50, but he's a world champion and one of the best. He's the best fighter of his time in the 90s. It would have been great to get in there. They were talking about how it was supposed to be a $50,000 payday for that fight, and sure, I would take it. I had disability insurance. I'd cover for any kind of injuries. I had a good payday to show up and get in there. It'd be an honor to get in there with one of the world's greats. And, no travel insurance issues of having to go somewhere else and not being covered if you get hurt or something like that. So it was all bases covered. But, when they started to lose that fight and then they're looking for other things up and coming, they're trying to fast track, getting me, big fights for big titles without any kind of proper training and no sponsorship to get prepared, and expecting me to sign on a dotted line for oh God, we got this fight last minute, to fight this number 6 guy in the world in, where the hell was it, Belgium, in April, and you'll pay $10,000, right? I'm like, well, $10,000 is great, and I'd like the idea of being able to fight for something like that, but I don't want to go into fighting the number 6 guy in the world without any kind of proper training. This guy's full time. He's got 6-7 fights last year. And then he's only, he's that's all he's doing. I'm working. I'm a part-time guy. I've made a Canadian title. I haven't had any international experience, and I definitely haven't world-level experience. And how am I supposed to properly be suited to fight this guy? It sounds like I'm getting fed to the lions. I'm thinking, what am I? What do you guys have to gain from this if I do this? So I said basically no, because the other thing is too that when you compete in sport like this, to go over to Belgium, there's no travel insurance because they don't cover for extreme sport, right? And like I said, I work 12-hour days, 5 days a week. If I get hurt, and in boxing, it's not a matter of if, it's how much, right? Sometimes it's little, sometimes it's a lot. I could be facing kind of some extreme medical bills if I go and get fed to lines like that over in some other country in Europe, and then that $10,000, that disappears real goddamn fast. I wouldn't even go to Mexico, just like a few hours away across the states, if I didn't have travel insurance, because it's just not worth the risk financially.
Yeah,